Random Access Memory, RAM. Think of Random Access Memory, or RAM, as the digital workbench of a mobile device. While the hard drive or solid-state drive is the filing cabinet where your data is permanently stored, the RAM is the desk where the processor actually does its work. When you open a spreadsheet or launch a web browser, the processor pulls that application out of the filing cabinet and lays it out on the workbench. The larger the workbench, the more applications you can have open at the same time without the system slowing down. For the CompTIA A+ exam, you must understand how to diagnose failing memory, identify the physical form factors used in mobile devices, and safely execute a replacement or upgrade. Part 1. Mobile Form Factors, SODIMM versus soldered. In a traditional desktop computer, RAM comes in long sticks. In the mobile world, space is the ultimate premium, so the hardware looks very different. 1. The SODIMM standard for decades, laptops have used small outline dual inline memory modules, or SODIMM. These are roughly half the length of desktop memory sticks. If a laptop is advertised as upgradable, it contains physical slots on the motherboard designed specifically for SODIMM sticks. 2. Soldered memory, LPDDR, in modern, ultra-thin laptops like the MacBook Air or Microsoft Surface, and in all smartphones and tablets, the RAM is not a separate, removable stick. It is permanently soldered directly onto the motherboard. This is usually low-power DDR memory. The trade-off: soldered memory is faster and uses less battery power because it is physically closer to the processor. However, it means that if the RAM fails, or if the user simply wants to upgrade from 8 GB to 16 GB, it is impossible. The entire motherboard, or the entire device, must be replaced. Part 2. Diagnosing RAM failure. RAM is solid state. It has no moving parts. However, electrical surges, static electricity, or manufacturing defects can cause specific memory addresses to fail. As a technician, you must recognize the classic symptoms. The BSOD and kernel panics. If a Windows laptop constantly crashes with a blue screen of death showing errors like memory management or page fault in non-paged area, the RAM is the prime suspect. On a Mac, this presents as a kernel panic, causing an unexpected reboot. Constant paging, thrashing. If a user complains that their laptop is incredibly slow and the hard drive light is constantly flashing, they might simply be out of RAM when the workbench gets full. The operating system desperately tries to use the hard drive as fake RAM, called a page file. Because the hard drive is much slower than actual memory, the entire system grinds to a halt. Failure to POSD. When you press the power button, the computer runs a power-on self-test. If the RAM is completely dead or unseated, the screen will remain black, and the laptop will usually emit a series of diagnostic beeps or flashing LED lights. Part 3. The rules of upgrading and compatibility. If you determine that a laptop needs a memory upgrade, you cannot just grab any stick off the shelf. Memory has strict generational rules. 1. The DDR generation's modern laptops use double data rate, or DDR, memory. You will encounter DDR3, DDR4, and the latest DDR5. Crucial rule: these generations are not backward compatible. To prevent you from accidentally installing the wrong type, the manufacturer places a physical notch in the bottom of the memory stick. The notch is in a slightly different location for every generation. If you have to force the stick into the slot, you are holding the wrong generation of RAM. 2 multi-channel configurations whenever possible. RAM should be installed in identical pairs. If a laptop needs 16 GB of memory, it is much faster to install 2 8 GB sticks than one single 16 GB stick. This allows the processor to access both sticks simultaneously, a feature known as dual-channel memory. Part 4. The physical replacement technique. Replacing a laptop's SODIMM is one of the most common physical repairs you will perform. It requires a gentle touch and strict adherence to electrostatic discharge, ESD safety. Preparation: completely power down the laptop. Open the bottom casing and immediately disconnect the main battery from the motherboard to ensure no power is flowing through the system. Put on an anti-static wrist strap. Release the arms. Locate the RAM slot. You will see two small metal or plastic retention arms holding the sides of the memory stick flat. Using your thumbs, gently push those two arms outward, away from the stick. The 45-degree pop. When the arms are released, the SODIMM stick will automatically pop up at a 45-degree angle. You can now safely pull it straight out of the slot. Insertion. To install the new RAM, do not try to lay it flat. You must insert it back into the slot at that same 45-degree angle, ensuring the notch lines up with the key in the slot. Once it is firmly seated in the connector, gently push the stick flat against the motherboard until the retention arms click back into place. Summary for the professional technician. To wrap up your understanding of mobile memory for your certification, SODIMM is the upgradable standard for laptops. Soldered memory cannot be replaced. Symptoms of failure include blue screens, random reboots, and failure to pass the power-on self-test. Generations, like DDR4 and DDR5, are physically incompatible due to the placement of the notch. Installation requires inserting the stick at a 45-degree angle and pressing down until it clicks.